to Bus Speakers. I'm Kush,
And I'm Alex.
and today reviewing Kairon IRSE Ruination. Kairon IRSE are a progressive rock, alternative rock band from Sweden, and they also have a semicolon and an exclamation point in their name.
Who even knows what they're trying to say with all this?
No clue, but I absolutely love this album. I love it, love it, love it. I think my favorite song on here, well, I'm just going to start off with the least favorite.
Okay, well, I didn't even properly phase a least favourite, but it'll be interesting to see what yours is.
I didn't like Lulu La Laco.
Okay, well, why?
So the song itself was pretty good, but it was a really long song, and it just got repetitive over and over again. Because in the other songs, despite being long, they add a lot of depth and a lot of texture to the songs. This one didn't really get anywhere; it was just repeating itself over and over again. That was probably my biggest problem with it. But it still sounded great. I just think that was the only problem I had with this album, like in a collective sense. But every other song on here was absolutely gorgeous.
I thought it was a much easier to digest song.
Yeah, for sure.
I did say as it generally stuck and returned to the same instrumental themes, but it's still, very unique. The playing is very guitar feedback heavy. I even almost thought this entered like a dream pop vibe, like the Cocktail Twins or Sigur Rós levels of loveliness with the vocals. We must say the vocalist, this is another case where I'm not too sure if there's one or two, but some of the vocals done on here are absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, so I think Sinister Waves 1 and 2, I think 1 is much better than 2.
I think it's Sinister Waters.
Sorry, Sinister Waters. 1 and 2, I think 1 is better than 2, and because 1 was 12 minutes long, I think, and the beat picks up, drops off, the volume skyrockets, and it gets more aggressive. Then they add like abrasive electric guitars, they add some horns in the background, they take them away, they add drums, they take them away, add some electronic beats, take that away too, and just mix and match for 12 minutes just to make this like soundscape and something that's just going on all around you, something so complex and intricate.
Yeah, I'd say this is basically doing a Genesis type thing from the early 70s. Like, if you like the musical box or Supper's Ready, you'll be well prepared to enjoy this, anyone listening. It's progressive rock to the core in how it goes from one established section to another. My favourite one was probably the first one, to be honest. I mean, it's like pastoral double track acoustic guitar with two vocals. There's definitely two different vocals. One's more high-pitched than the other, still kind of high-pitched one. Stuff like that is just really great. It sounds like going back to Genesis when Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins would sing together.
Yeah.
That sort of dynamic vocal range. Yeah, I mean, but then there's that rumbly bass guitar fade bit at around 6 minutes in. That was an amazing part, I'd say.
Yeah, and then Sinister Waters 2 was also really good. It's a more rock, I guess, more rock oriented.
Yeah.
It was the fuzzy production like really added to the overall atmosphere of the song, and the vocals are kind of haunting. Like even multiple times throughout this album, I thought the vocals were just kind of eerie and creepy, which is really interesting for something so just unique of an album.
I thought the playing on this was a lot more like brutal and crackly and so starkly different from the previous song. And since they're like part 1 and 2, they don't really sound like it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I agree.
They're probably just... The thing is, these are not instrumentals, I don't think. Well, they're not if they're vocalists, but...
Yeah.
There comes a point where you get a band that are in a different language. I don't know their full comprehension of English. Must be some level of it. So naming songs is probably secondary to them from composing it, as it should be for everyone actually. But if you have instrumentals, that's like the only lyric you have for it is the title, and these aren't instrumentals, but they reminded me of it in how far the playing goes, just in different areas. Compared to the largely acoustic first part, this was like, there was a real groove to this song with the raw electric guitar. it's different, but it's just as good, I'd say. I think I was more impressed with the vocals because they were more high pitched. And there was even some keyboard synths at the end, which were breathtaking. I mean, the areas this band go on really trip me out.
Yeah. I think the next song is Starik.
Yeah.
I think at this point every song feels like 4 different songs, and they just smash them together and really well. Like smash them together really well. This was like they had a more like anthem arena type vocals, like haunting and very verbose, and they added some crazy horns in there somewhere, and it was just terrifying to listen to, in a good way terrifying. And then they implement some synths, and it just gets out of hand, and it's absolutely wonderful.
Some sort of brass instrument getting played on this, because there's like some weird effect with the keyboard synthesizer, and there's like a squeaky sound. I have no idea how they made that. I'm pretty sure they must have some level of comprehension on the keyboards, because to manipulate sounds if it's not an actual brass instrument, but probably does. And they have just such a good formula for creating these, except they kind of don't, because they just go in different areas. To give listeners an idea of the guitar tone in this, it sounded like a weird progressive rock version of Zero by the Smashing Pumpkins, if you know that song.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's the same sort of really raw guitar. And yeah, that was another great song. Some of these are hard to talk about so much, like it's a level of we love it so much, there's nothing to like critique in a way.
Well,
we just say stuff we like.
The biggest problem with this album is that it's just so complex and diverse that we can't even give an accurate representation of what it sounds like, because there's so many different sounds with it.
I know, like, that was me trying to give them an idea of it, and my own personal approximation, and it's probably very wrong. Like, you didn't think of that yourself, probably because we have our own interpretations of the music.
So the next song was Porphyrogenitos.
Porphyrogenitos. Okay.
We
both had to go at that.
This was much more psychedelic than the tracks in the intro. Did you get that psychedelic vibe?
Yeah. I got the whole psychedelic vibe on the whole album, kinda.
I thought this one was more just more like smack you in the face with it, but then they like add a whole bunch of layers, so then it just kind of gets more dense, and you lose that. And then the electric guitars are not cleaned on this one, so it's even more like gritty and grimy. And then it just cuts to acoustic picking, just out of nowhere, just straight up acoustic picking.
This was my favorite point on the album. That whole part out of nowhere. It's acoustic, and then like they eventually add like bass and drums, and just work them together for quite a few minutes, and then eventually build on it with synths and atmospherics. But that part there was probably my favorite part in the album. I don't know why, it was just so starkly different, and this is like later on in the album, so it amazed me kind of.
Yeah, there was just so many great things on this album that just had it was just super impressive. Then the last song, Ruination, title track.
Yeah.
This was probably the most haunting song on the album.
Yeah, it's weird having a song that's like this clear cut vocally, I'd say, because they're quite hidden. How they're so high pitched you can't understand it. Like, I barely understood any lyrics on this, and I don't think anyone's actually
I'm pretty sure it's in a different language, isn't it?
Some of it is, like Starik and Luliako, great, and I think Ruination must be in English. No, there were definitely some points in either Sinister Waters 1 and 2 where I definitely heard some English words, definitely, but it might be nonsensical, it might just be putting them together. I don't, like I say, I have no idea how much they know of English, but this was actually quite a good closer, I'd say.
Yeah, I would agree with
that. Much slower than the rest of the album, and it's another case of piano at the end of an album. Most of these songs had piano, but I'm pretty sure this at least had some synth keyboards on it.
You have a conspiracy going with a piano.
There was It's added to the list. One day I'll release it, and artists will have to explain themselves. There is some level of it's not a coincidence. There's some level where on at least a third of the albums I hear, they always end with a piano. I was listening to some Tom Waits and the album Mule Variations, and it had piano at the end. Phil Collins' Face Value. I can't fully remember, but I'm pretty sure it did. So, I mean, it's one instrument. Probably 80% of songs closers have bass on them, so it's not that much of a conspiracy. But it's something I've noticed where it's the prominent instrument out of nowhere when the rest of the album doesn't have it.
But yeah, so
anyway,
Ruination was just, they had like really great imagery, and it created this whole vibe. Just when you like, so I use headphones when I listen. I don't play on speaker. So the headphone, like when I use headphones, it like immerses me into that kind of song, and they throw on electric guitars and there's this haunting vocal like chant sort of thing going on, and the song just doesn't end. And I'm really just like, I hope it doesn't end because it's so fantastic and so diverse. And I think this is probably the most diversity I've heard on one album as a coherent piece.
So you got imagery from just the sounds instead of the lyrics.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Actually, you don't get that very much. I did actually write a whole big paragraph, like in general, summarizing it, but I don't know. I'll probably say it just before we go into the ratings. This is one of the most impressive and diverse albums I've heard in ages. The band are so talented and create so many different soundscapes and atmospheres, and shift so effortlessly and divisively between them that it's really impressive. This is progressive music at its roots. Elements occur and develop and evolve together to create something new. It's not just got different sections loosely put together to technically be called progressive. It's got different evolutions of sound. This is true progression. So that's why I found it slightly different to analyse and formulate into words, especially the longest songs on here, because it's so much harder to place and far more complex than like your average 3-minute pop song. The whole thing.
Yeah, because there's so many different sounds going on. You just can't. There really isn't a way to put them into one category.
I mean, for some of these, I just said like stuff where it sounded like another one, like Sinister Water 2, since it was more hard-edged than Sinister Waters 1. It reminded me more of King Crimson from the Red album era, and it also reminded me a bit of Opeth, now that they're more progressive rock instead of progressive metal now, in that they still got a bit of a hard edge, but they're definitely more progressive rock. So, essentially, we both love this album.
What would you rate it, Alex? 'Cause I love it, so.
I'm gonna give it 8. This is probably the best progressive rock album I've heard released in the 2010s. I've not heard many. Actually, well, Pain of Salvation was kind of more progressive metal. But as far as these things go, I'm not gonna ask for more. It's better than like Dream Theater, I guess, and some other stuff that I've heard. And, it made me think. It wasn't a normal album. It had so much different stuff going on that I just couldn't put into words. And I think that's where true progressive rock comes in. Progressive rock in the 70s was changing pre-existing genres like rock and blues, changing the guitar sonically and distortion, and just making it something to behold. So this is that again, but in 2017, that's something to behold in itself.
So yeah, I'm going to give it a 7.5 because I think this is just something just so unique, something so complex but yet simple at times, something that's fun and enjoyable at times and also deep and emotional at times. Just that one song, La 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 Ko.
Don't even bother, man.
Yeah, that one song just kind of knocked it down a little bit for me. I think that it was missing just a little bit of edge to it, maybe something more. I felt I was repeating a lot. It was kind of bland at times, but every other song was just so great and complex and detailed and masterfully performed that I saved them all to my playlist, and I think that whenever, if it comes on, despite being 13 or 12 minutes long, I'm still gonna listen to the entire thing, because I don't think you can listen to the song in portions, because everything builds up to something else.
The only song I could vaguely imagine myself listening to by itself was whatever that Lukio. I didn't even look at it. I didn't even look at it there. I just remembered that it had a lot of Lulu. Okay, it's Lulailoko. Yeah, that song, since it didn't go too progressive and return to the same instrumental themes, maybe you could like put it in the sort of dream pop shoegaze category of like My Bloody Valentine, Slow Dive, Cocktail Twins, maybe. But on the whole, yes, you can't really listen to these by themselves.
Yeah, I was just amazed by the album itself. I don't know. I loved it, and if you're listening to this, make sure you check this album out. You have to.
Yeah, this is our first ever must listen, even though we've liked other albums more than this.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to Busted Speakers. Let us know what you think about this album in the comments below. If you enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe, and check us out on social media.